In 1959, the United States government ordered a complete evacuation of an entire populated area. No warning, no debate, just silence. And most people still don't know it happened.
What you're about to hear isn't a conspiracy theory. It's documented history. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why the government has barely spoken about it since. Because what they found there changed everything. The place was called Pitcher, Oklahoma, a small mining town near the Kansas border. For decades, it produced more lead and zinc than almost anywhere else on Earth. During both World Wars, Pitcher supplied the metal that built American ammunition, vehicles, and infrastructure. At its peak, over 14,000 people lived there. It was called the Buckle on the lead and zinc belt. But underneath the town, something was growing, something no one could see. By the 1960s, miners had dug over 1,000 miles of tunnels beneath Pitcher. The ground was hollowed out like Swiss cheese. According to geological surveys, nearly 70% of the buildings sat directly above empty shafts. But the mining companies kept digging, and the residents kept living. Then the children started getting sick. In 1996, federal health officials conducted blood tests on Pitcher's children. The results were catastrophic. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, 34% of the children tested had lead poisoning levels high enough to cause permanent neurological damage. The source was everywhere: the soil, the water, the air. Chot piles, mountains of toxic mining waste, towered over homes and playgrounds. When the wind blew, lead dust coated everything. But this wasn't the most disturbing part. The EPA declared Pitcher one of the most toxic places in America. In 1983, it was added to the Superfund list, a federal program for cleaning up hazardous waste sites. Cleanup efforts began, but the damage was structural. Engineers discovered the tunnels were collapsing. Sinkholes began opening without warning. In some areas, the ground dropped 10 feet overnight. Homes cracked in half, streets buckled. Residents reported hearing rumbling sounds beneath their floors at night. In 2006, the Army Corps of Engineers released a report. According to their findings, 86% of Pitcher's buildings were at risk of catastrophic subsidence. The town, they concluded, was uninhabitable. Not in 50 years, not eventually, right now. And then, in May 2008, nature delivered the final blow. An EF4 tornado ripped through Pitcher. 20 blocks were destroyed. 6 people died. Over 150 were injured. When federal officials arrived to assess the damage, they made a decision that had never been made before in modern American history. They told everyone to leave permanently. The government didn't call it an evacuation. They called it a voluntary buyout program, but the message was clear. According to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Pitcher would not be rebuilt. The state of Oklahoma officially disincorporated the town in 2013. Mail service stopped. The school closed. The police department disbanded. Street signs were removed. One by one, families sold their homes to the government and left. Some had lived there for generations. According to census data, by 2010, fewer than 20 people remained. By 2013, the population was listed as 0. But here's what makes this story different from every other ghost town in America. Pitcher didn't die from economic collapse or natural disaster. It was killed by a century of decisions that prioritized profit over safety. The mining companies extracted billions of dollars in resources. They left behind 70 million tons of toxic waste. And when the consequences became undeniable, they were gone. Most had dissolved or declared bankruptcy decades earlier. The cost of the cleanup? According to government estimates, over $300 million, and it's still not finished. Today, Pitcher is a restricted zone. A few structures still stand: empty churches, a crumbling school, rusted water towers, but no one lives there. The chat piles remain. The tunnels are still collapsing. The lead is still in the ground. In 2009, the EPA extended its testing beyond Pitcher's borders. They found elevated lead levels in surrounding communities. The contamination had spread through groundwater and wind for decades. Thousands of people who never worked in the mines, who never lived in Pitcher, were exposed. And here's the part that still matters. According to the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, there are over 1,300 active Superfund sites across the United States. Many are in populated areas. Some have been on the list for over 40 years. Cleanup is slow, funding is inconsistent, and in many cases, the companies responsible no longer exist. Pitcher is the only town the government fully shut down, but it's not the only place where the ground is poisoned, where children are tested for toxins, where families are told to stay but not promised safety.
The government didn't hide Pitcher. They just stopped talking about it. And for most of America, silence works just as well as secrecy. The question isn't whether it could happen again. It's whether it already is.
Crisis after the break.